of you who don't know me, I'm Becky Beaumont. I'm 22 years old, but a year ago today I had a stroke. It left me paralysed down my left side. I've gone through intense physiotherapy since having the stroke, and I have gained a lot of the movement back, so I can now walk, although not for a very long time, and I do have a bit of a limp. And my arm has got a lot of its movement back, but it is still very weak. My fingers don't work brilliantly, but it's coming back slowly but surely, and I do intend to carry on working on it until I'm back to my normal self. At first, so just after I'd had the stroke, at times it was hard to stay positive. I felt that overnight I'd had my independence taken away from me. You know, I couldn't wash myself anymore, I struggled to walk. I basically had to rely on everybody to do everything for me. And when you're a 21-year-old, you don't want people doing everything for you. You know, you're basically just an adult, and I felt like a baby again. But I did have to decide that I couldn't be negative anymore. It wasn't fair on my family and friends who were being so amazing, so supportive and so positive. I had to snap out of the mood that I was in and realise that actually I'm still lucky to be here. I'm lucky that it was just my body that was affected. You know, I still have my mind, I still have my own voice. So I had to be positive. I had to be positive for my friends and for my family, because they were going through it as well as me. So for the first 6 months after having my stroke, I did find it quite difficult to talk about it. I never really sat down with anybody and spoke about what had happened to me. I was very much for living in the here and now, taking every day as it came, you know, rather than looking back. I just wanted to look forward. My whole life had become so mechanical. Every step that I took, I had to think about what I was doing. Every action I took, nothing came naturally to me. So I really had to focus on being positive, and that's why I didn't want to sit back and think, oh my god, what has happened to me? I'm only a baby, you know, it's not fair. But 6 months down the line, due to my sister's persuasion, she said, why don't you write a blog? And to be fair, being a bit of a technophobe, it's something I'd never thought about. But even though I didn't know much about blogging, I have always enjoyed writing. And it was my sister that said to me, maybe you feel better putting down in words what's happened to you, you know, write a story, see if anybody gets in contact with you, you know, maybe who's been through what I've been through. So I did just think, why not, you know, why not give it a go? So I started to write my blog, and the way I decided to do it was looking back on my time in hospital and going from there, so taking the story from the very beginning. So sort of like a diary, but looking back on what had happened, because maybe after 6 months that's when I did feel ready to talk about it, and I did feel ready to kind of accept what had happened to me and go through it stage by stage, because it was a massive time of my life, something I'll never forget. And it was good for me to get it down, good for me to put it into words, what maybe I found difficult to speak about. And the reaction that I've had from the blog has just been incredible. I mean, 6 months on from writing the blog, it's had nearly 500,000 hits. I now have 5,500 amazing followers on Twitter who are all survivors in their own right, and who share their stories with me like I've shared my story with them. It's amazing, because the community that has been created from people deciding to follow my blog and decided to follow me on Twitter has really made me feel like I'm not alone. It's like one big family, and you know, we bounce off each other. I'll say something about maybe what's happened to me, and someone else will come back and say, oh, something like that happened to me, or I know someone who went through that. And it makes you feel not so afraid and and yeah, not so alone. My blog is my story and it's personal, but I'm so open and honest with it because I do want to raise awareness. I want all sorts of people to be able to read it. You know, it's not just for people in their 20s. I don't aim it to older people or younger people specifically. It's for everybody. And it basically is just my story. It's my life. By telling you about my life, I'm kind of hoping that even if just a few people can get rid of this stereotype that strokes can just happen to the older generation, then I feel like that I'm doing a good job. So luckily, when my mum found me in bed, she knew exactly what had happened, which enabled her to know to act fast. If any of you are ever in the situation where you find a person is having a stroke, or you think that they're having a stroke, and you know, I really hope you don't, but if you do, you also need to act fast. So look at the face. Is the face drooping? Has it changed shape? Does it look different? Their arm, has their arm weakened? Has their leg weakened? You know, can they lift it? Can they close their eyes and lift their arm up and keep it there? Their speech, what's their speech like? Are they slurring? Do they sound drunk? Is it different? So the most important thing is time. You know, you need to act quickly. You need to make sure you phone an ambulance as quickly as you can, and that you keep that person talking, keep their brain active. Time is the most important thing when it comes to stroke. So today is my stroke anniversary and I do want to make light of it. I don't want to look on this past year negatively because there's no point in dwelling on it. You know, I want to give today a humorous name because I want to make light of it. You know, I'm 22 years old. I don't need to be dark and depressed. Instead of focusing on how, yeah, my life changed dramatically and it was turned on its head, I want to focus on the achievements that I've made since the 18th of October 2011 to today. So, with my stroke anniversary in mind, I have decided that as it's, a special occasion, I'm going to read to you my latest blog post. So that way you have a choice of whether you just want to read it as normal, how you normally read my posts when I upload them, or you can listen to me read it to you, or both. You can put me on in the background and read along with it. I just thought it would be nice for you to hear how my blog posts come out of my head, you know, how I say them, how I put them onto paper. But don't worry, this isn't my last blog post. I'm just marking it as a special occasion. Really, I'm kind of telling you that this is actually the beginning of my story, and I really do think whether you like it or not, you'll be hearing a lot more from me.